I'm glad you asked that because it's so easy to be a stud, right? When you're younger.
Mm-hmm. You see it so many times.
You see it. That pyramid gets a lot smaller, a lot older. The competition gets a lot faster as you get older. The game changes, right? And it's going to be your ability through hard work, preparation, the whole nine, to see where you stack up. To answer your question, their talent was evident very early. And in all fairness, I'll answer it like this. I'm not surprised that they are where they are.
That was head coach Lester Benn, the mastermind behind the Hiram Hornets, a 9 and 10-year-old Pop Warner football team that will send 6 players to Division I football schools, 4 of which are some of the state's highest-ranked football prospects in the 2021 and 2022 cycles. How Miles M.J. Morris, Miles Campbell, Smile Mondon, and Jaden Thomas all played on the same football team back when they were just 9 and 10 years old. This is the story of the Hiram Hornets, starting with episode 1 with the head coach and mastermind, Lester Benn. I hope you enjoy.
I attended a playoff game deep in the season. I believe this was for the conference championship to see who would go to the Super Bowl the following week. I've known a lot of those parents. I've known a lot of those players. Being a coach, I coached a couple years ahead of them, my son and his guys. But I say that to say there was a constant relationship. A couple of the players actually over the years were comfortable after their practices coming down to our field and actually running and ending the day. So there was a relationship, not as a coach per se, but as a coach slash friend that I kind of had with a few of those parents. And that's when I kind of was approached, quote unquote, if you will. And I'll be honest, you know, I think there's an unwritten law, right? I'm not going to throw other coaches under the bus or anything like that. So I wasn't campaigning. I wasn't trying to steal any team. I'm just watching. But I had a lot of respect for those guys. I think the parents had a lot of respect for me and were comfortable as their season was coming to an end. Hey, can we talk? That ended up resulting after a very, how can I say this, disappointing ending. No consoling some of these children who were visibly heartbroken. A couple of exchanges that could be heard between coach and parents, and then ultimately it just ended the way it ended. So having a heart in that exact moment, having a heart and listening to what was said, I remember Jerry Jones, who was a coach and a parent, Dana, a couple of different parents, they approached and I said, well, let's talk about it. You guys have a lot of talent, yeah, but let's talk about it. And long story short, I wanted to paint that picture so you understood the beginning as you asked. Mm-hmm. It wasn't necessarily a phone call of will you, it was kind of a moment, an experience. Different things happened, and within the context of, there was a real opportunity. And a couple of parents talked about they were looking to leave because they were so fed up. And anyway, so it was during that game, and I hope I haven't said too much, but it was during that game that the seed kind of was planted. So it was different factors that came together that allowed for me to take advantage of an incredible opportunity.
And an incredible opportunity it was. And
yeah.
I mean, like you said, fully loaded with as much talent as one, you know, a Pop Warner football team could imagine. Now, at what point, whether it be that first practice or that first point of that season when you're coaching these young men, what point did you realize, like, okay, we got something special here in terms of this Hiram rec ball team?
Every time they played, every opportunity I had, when my practice was done or when my game was done and you had a chance to see, again, I'm friends with a lot of those parents, so Beth and Emmett, but KJ, Big Papa, these are names of some of my players. Nunu, Javon, who else? Really just JT, Alon. Now, what happens, coach, is when I come in, okay, and now you see the talent, now it's raw. Mm-hmm. Now we've got to really apply the system, the process, okay, to get these guys, what's missing, what's needed. So this gentleman who never had an opportunity to run with the football, you now see his speed, his gait, his form. A gentleman who never had an opportunity to throw, because he may have been the bigger, or maybe, it was determined, well, we need him and such, so he was never given the opportunity to. The manner in which we approached this season, it was fair game. I have no
preconceptions.
None. Even though I've seen a couple of clips and heard a couple of things, doesn't matter. Let's earn your keep. Let's compete. And I think that did a lot to encourage and inspire a lot of these children who maybe thought that they might never get a chance. There are several examples. I'll just take the time to expand upon what I'm saying. We're here to talk about some incredible athletes, some guys who have had talent since I first saw them, and it might surprise you that they weren't even considered. So if I take Smile Munden, for instance, this is a guy, you talk about just raw talent. Speed was off the charts. This was at 10 years old. This was a gentleman who had been a part of the park for, I know, not only the year I coached, but he was there the year prior. That, off the top of my head, I can say rock solid. He may have been there previous 3 or 4 years. Never considered to play D1. You're familiar with pound ball, D1 and D2. Okay.
Simple team A, team B type of system.
Simple, yes. Right? And for whatever the reasons, this gentleman, with all of what I saw was obvious talent, was never considered. The way it was set up was D1, D2, there was a staff in place, but we, the D1 team, after the tryouts, you select. There's a list. It's the way the park ran it. So we select who we want, and then that information is relayed to the D2 staff, and the D2 staff works and they work with their guys. So I wanted everyone to know that you're my guys. Come into this with your mind. Know that you have that opportunity. There's no preconceived notion, as you said earlier, that you're not going to. Who told you that?
Yeah.
Okay? And they bought in. They took total advantage. Everyone came out. They were fired up. They worked hard. And it really made the decision easy. You would have no idea. You've had a chance to see the tape or some footage. You've had a chance to see the athlete that Miles Morris, MJ, that he's become. If I'm not mistaken, was it number 2 or 3 dual threat quarterback? Yeah. Currently ranked, right. Never got a chance to play. Now, you saw what he was able to do at 10. The year before, he played at another park. And now we won't mention any names necessarily. He played somewhere else. And spent that year frustrated and disappointed because he was never able to take the field and show what he was able to do. How you run your team is your business, if you're pleased with. And I think they may have won a few games themselves. But it was pretty disheartening. And MJ comes up the hill with a pair of flip-flops. He's got this infectious smile about him, right? If you can
Still does.
Yeah, right? If you can get him to smile.
Yeah. And
at that point in time, he was on the sideline tossing the ball. We were just running some routes, trying to get that relationship with the players that we had established between receiver and quarterback. And come on up. Let's see what he's about. I told him, hey, you can come on out. We'll take a look at him. I'm not promising you anything. Talent will make way for itself. Sure, come on out and have a look. And it didn't take but maybe 1 or 2 snaps, okay? 1 or 2 throws. We're talking about another young man today in JT Money. He was out there, a couple of other athletes. I'm thinking of Alon Archer, a couple other guys. And these guys had enough speed to stretch the field. We needed an arm that was strong and accurate to take advantage. And it didn't take 1 or 2. I mean, my mind was made up. In
the flip-flops.
In the flip-flops, okay? Came on out there and showed immediately that he had not just potential, he had that it factor. The strength of that arm was evident. Yeah, it was evident. So as I reflect, wow, you're really drudging up a lot of memories. But I remember that day. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I remember him coming up. I see him approaching from the side of the football field. I remember talking to Jerry Jones, about him. And when he came up, he took advantage of that opportunity. The rest is history, as they say.
You guys were running a type of offense that you don't see 10-year-old football teams run. I mean, we're talking about 2013, 2014, and you guys are running read option with 10-year-olds and back shoulder fades and throwing deep balls and doing all kinds of stuff like this. I mean, you guys didn't see any other offenses doing that kind of stuff, did you? You guys were pretty revolutionary, weren't you?
Did I see a lot of spread at that age? Of course not. There's a lot of defensive coverage, reading that has to be done. There's a lot of footwork involved. There's timing involved. There are things that are difficult for a lot of coaches to really take the time to develop. When I think of Miles Campbell, and we talk about the offenses that we ran, yes, we were able to run spread offenses, read options, obviously, as you saw on the tape, but make no mistake, we can line up in the power, we can line up and plow. And my fullback, Miles Campbell, he was called upon several times throughout that season. He's a big time super stud tight end, you know what I'm saying? Stay tuned, May 18th, stay tuned. But for the announcement, no, but back then on defense he was my linebacker, and on offense he was a fullback, and he'd cut you up. So we had talent that gave us options, and at that point I just wanted to maximize.
You kind of hit on it already. I mean, you've got a ton of talent, you already know it, but did you ever imagine, maybe not Miles, I think Miles in particular, Miles Campbell in particular, and Smile for that matter, did you ever imagine that these guys would have a pick of whatever school they'd want to when you saw them when they were 9 or 10 years old? MJ obviously looked incredible, was one of the best quarterbacks in the area in 5th grade. Jaden Thomas was, you see it. He was dominant, much bigger than even the rest of the competition at that age. With younger guys like Miles, did you ever imagine they'd develop into what they did? Smile in particular as well, Smile in particular.
I'm glad you asked that, because it's so easy to be a stud, right, when you're younger.
You see it so many times.
You see it. That pyramid gets a lot smaller, a lot older. The competition gets a lot faster as you get older. The game changes, right? And it's going to be your ability through hard work, preparation, the whole nine, to see where you stack up. To answer your question, their talent was evident very early. And in all fairness, I'll answer it like this. I'm not surprised that they are where they are.